Tonight, my dear citizens of the blood, join me once again as the Red Question peel back the lies and reveal the truth. Tonight, we have something very special for you. Come one, come all, and gather round for a tale that uncovers the enigmatic and dangerous exploits of one of the most formidable Canaanites in history. The Kindred that made myths into legends, the lover of long sticks, the man who dared to dream big and wrote the book on how to break the fucking rules. We're talking about the OG of Kindred fairy tales, the one and only Vlad Tepes, or to you uneducated licks, Dracula. It's not hard to find information about Dracula's history. A quick flick through the books at any local library will give you the highlights. As far as a Kindred history goes, Dracula's is the very definition of public information. The demise of Vlad Tepes in 1476 remains etched in the history books, but that isn't the whole story. You see, Vladdy Boy knew all about the secrets skulking in the shadows of his homeland. Being a Basarab blood helped, as did having Durga Sin as a mentor. Vlad knew the stakes, so to speak, and wanted nothing more than to seize for himself a slice of that immortal pie. Guided by the influential hands of Count Rastovich and Count Radu, both stalwart amid the Transylvania Canaanites, Vlad was an anomaly, an independent ghoul, somehow able to resist the blood oath's sway. Poenari Castle became his sanctuary, a crucible wherein he sought a sponsor, or maybe a catalyst for the embrace he so coveted. His aspirations became centered around Yorak, the Voivode of Voivodes in the Zamiti clan, and the custodian of the sacred Cathedral of Flesh. Yorak was happy to help. After all, Vlad was a rising star, and there's a lot of chatter on the Kindred grapevine that said he was going places. However, the Cathedral had other ideas. When Yorek's fangs sank into Vlad's flesh, the Cathedral intervened, turning on its master and diabolizing him. They went after Vlad and everyone else inside. Driven mad by the death of their sire, Yorek's children were worse than useless. Vlad had to fight them and the Cathedral to claw his way to freedom. But why did the Cathedral go rogue? Well, as always, we here at the Red Question have heard all sorts of rumors. Thematic rituals wrenching control away from Yorak. Pissed off dead people, now part of the walls collectively deciding they've had enough. There's even whispers that a demon had its claws in the Cathedral's mutiny, wanting to put an end to some perceived threat it saw in Vlad. Truth is, no one knows, but it was a grade A clusterfuck, and Vlad barely escaped with his life. His experience in the Cathedral of Flesh hadn't put him off immortality. He still longed for the embrace, yet having seen the mess of Yorek's death made to his childer, and feeling how close he'd come to falling under Yorek's mental domination, Vlad wanted to do it his way, without the vulnerability of the Bloodbound. After the Cathedral incident, a Zamitsi elder sent a fledgling spy to keep a close eye on Vlad. After some time and careful investigation, Vlad finally caught them, which led to him finding out that the Sabbat were coming for him, and they wanted blood. A faithful messenger confirmed it and added the names Lambach and Tabak. Now, the Sabbat had a bone to pick with Vlad, because he had a nasty habit of putting Zamitsi on spikes and drinking their blood before destroying them. You see, our boy Vlad just couldn't help himself. His greed and lust for the red stuff had made him a target, and this would hardly be the first time he'd land himself in trouble with the clans. The next night, the Sabbat descended on Vlad's mountain home, a host of 10 well-armed and armored. They advanced on the castle, meeting literally no resistance, as Vlad and his forces were nowhere to be seen. However, Vlad had been busy. As they advanced up the stairs, the Sabbat pack were ambushed by more vampires. A Camarilla host led by Lucita de Aragon herself came barreling in and quickly fell free of the well-provisioned but poorly organised Sabbat. Tipped off by a friendly local, the Camarilla cavalry had ridden in to deal with the local Sabbat problem. The battle raged on, while that self-same friendly local sat and watched from a safe distance, his forces waiting for his signal to strike. When the battle had taken its toll on the vampires, with all of them wounded and many dead, Vlad knew it was time. He gave the order. Out of the castle shadows poured his forces, mounting a devastating assault from the flank. Chaos followed. It made no difference to Vlad which vampires he killed. His fury knew no bounds. A skilled warrior, he sliced and diced his way through as many of the vampire forces as he could. The Camarilla survivors eventually turned tail and fled. They could see which way the wind was blowing. The Sabbat weren't so lucky. By the end of the battle, Lambach and his sire, Tabak, were on stakes, being carried back to the castle, conscious and helpless. A scheme well executed and snacks for the road. Ever resourceful was our man Vlad. So Vlad has somehow managed to keep his throne, despite the best efforts of more than a few models and kindred, escaped the battle unscratched, and finally had all the pieces he needed in place to get what he wanted. 2 nights later, Vlad showed his hand. He gave Lambach a choice: embrace him and release him into this immortal realm for eternity, without contract or condition, or die. Lambach, being a complete coward, gave Vlad exactly what he wanted. Dracula was born! Freshly turned and full of hunger, Dracula tore Tabak apart and drained him of every last drop, as his mentor, Sin, had previously suggested. Now, Dracula had his immortality and had drunk the soul of a powerful clan leader. He was having a good day. In a strange twist of fate, he did keep his word and allowed Lambach to go free, but warned him against ever challenging him. Then, with the help of Count Radu, Dracula's forced the Sabbat to bend the knee and enter the bond of Voivode with him, leading them on a nightly crusade across Transylvania. Dracula was now the uncontested Voivode of the Transylvania Sabbat. In the years after, Dracula spent his time playing the usual games of the rich and the powerful, with pawns to play the Sabbat and the Camarilla off against each other. He mastered cold and sorcery and began to explore the path of humanity as he grew ever more powerful. Yet, he didn't stop there. As for Dracula was concerned, the rules of vampiric society were mere guidelines for other kindred. He dabbled with temporal magic and mysticism. He ate who he wanted, when he wanted. He made no attempts to hide who or what he was. He was a very naughty boy indeed. But that wasn't the worst of things he did. Oh no. In 1897, Vlad literally wrote the book on breaking the Masquerade. Well, he persuaded the author Bram Stoker to. I don't really think I have to spell out that this was the most audacious crime against kindred that had ever been seen. Bram Stoker's book went global. It caused the word vampire to become public property. He didn't just shine a spotlight on kindred, he staked them out of the fucking sun. To say Dracula wasn't popular after this would be something of an understatement. Probably unsurprisingly, Dracula had kept himself very much in the shadows ever since, not taking part in kindred society, and barely ever seen. And who could blame him? The guy's got a cereal box with his face on it. But even with all of this, there is still so much speculation about the man, the myth, the legend. This guy did things nobody expected from a member of the society, but it's all a bit cloudy when it comes to why. It's hard to understand why someone who spent so much of his immortal life seeking the embrace, then pissed it up against the wall whilst he got everything he wanted. This is someone rumoured to have a major role to play in the Eternal War, yet he published his autobiography and vanished. While he was a player back in the day, he's been quiet for so long now, some younger kindred think he isn't even real. So why the low profile? There are theories, of course, and then there are theories. Lambach was not who he said he was, and was playing the game at master level. Rumor has it, he was the sire of Tarak, and not the other way round. This rumor goes, Lambach had a beef with Yorak, so used Thaumaturgy to give the cathedral a chance to chow down. He then got his pieces in position to embrace Vlad, happy to sit back and watch the fireworks until he was ready to make his move. If that was the case, Lambach manipulated everything from the start to position himself as the rightful Voivode of Voivodes, meaning Dracula's claim was false. If Lambach came back to claim his right and finish off old Vladdy boy, it would explain why Dracula's gone a little quiet over the last few centuries. Up next, Dracula is dead! Some say Dracula died through a variety of interesting or frankly bizarre means, but we've heard through the grapevine that it might just have been another master stroke by the old boy. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but Thaumaturgy may have allowed him to fake his death by presenting a remnant shell posing as himself while he disappeared out of Kindred society for reasons unknown. But we here at the Red Question have done our own digging, and we've got our own ideas. Our theory, you see, good old Drac did commit the biggest ever breach of the Masquerade, but one that was masterfully played. Sure, he gave enough away to make it believable, to tie in with the fireside whispers and old wives' tales. He betrayed some of our vulnerabilities, but they were already being used by the Inquisition at the time. Fire, sunlight, and staking was nothing new. But with one book, Dracula not only cemented his name in the history books, he freed us all to be able to walk in the night. He turned vampires into Halloween costumes and bedtime stories. He made people think our havens need to be ruined castles, remote and foreboding. He convinced people they had to be unlucky or stupid to be in danger, wandering into places they shouldn't be after dark. He made the world believe we can't come in unless we're invited, while turning us into sexy, alluring creatures of the night that many people would gladly throw open the door for, rather than the blood-crazed monsters with a constant battle to keep that voice inside our heads quiet. Say what you want about Dracula, but he did us a solid. But you have to ask yourself, why? Why did he do this? He painted the biggest target the world has ever seen on his back, and for what? Well, my fellow citizens of the blood, think about it. You convince the mortal world you don't exist and let the kindred think you're dead. For as a Mitzi, a face is as easy to change as your clothes. A nip here, a tuck there, a new name. You see where we're going. Whatever other reasons Dracula had, the biggest was also the most important. He did it because he could. He looked at the rules they tried to drown us with and asked himself one fundamental question, the most important question of all. Why do you obey?